Picture holding a slender piece of history between your fingers, a coin that slipped out of mint packaging decades ago, then vanished into circulation, only to re-emerge as a treasure today. That's exactly what the 1996 Roosevelt dime represents, a blend of familiar design and hidden quirks that turns pocket change into a collector's obsession. In this episode, we'll unwrap the story behind this seemingly ordinary 10-cent piece, diving into its past, spotting the telltale signs of rare varieties, and exploring how condition can send its value soaring. If you thought dimes were just worth their face value, think again, because when you know what to look for, a single 1996 dime can hold surprises worth hundreds, even thousands, of dollars. Let's rewind to the mid-1990s. The Roosevelt dime had been in continuous production since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt's legacy and his fight against polio. By 1996, the series was well into its modern phase, clad in a copper-nickel outer layer bonded to a pure copper core, struck with precision at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That year marked the 50th anniversary of the first Roosevelt dime, making it a subtle but meaningful milestone. While the U.S. Mint didn't issue a special commemorative design, collectors began to pay closer attention to 1996 dimes simply because half a century had passed since the series began. This background sets the stage, a coin born of continuity, bearing a legacy, and quietly waiting for discerning eyes to spot its rarities. When you pick up a 1996 Roosevelt dime, the first thing to note is the mint mark, no mark for Philadelphia issues, a small D under the bow on the reverse for Denver strikes. Most coins you encounter will be Philadelphia pieces, as Denver produced fewer that year. Yet among those Philadelphia dimes lurk even rarer varieties, specifically, double die obverse and off-center strikes that slipped through mint quality control. Doubling on the obverse is subtle. Look around Roosevelt's portrait, particularly at the date and the word Liberty. Under magnification, you might catch a faint ghost image doubling the letters or numerals. Only a handful of these show clear doubling, most circulate unseen in jeans and ashtrays. Collectors grade them anywhere from VG to MS, depending on wear and clarity of the doubling. Key identifying features for the double die variety include slightly thickened serifs on the Liberty letters, a second, lower-angled numeral outline in the date, and a broadened rim near Roosevelt's shoulder. Even seasoned collectors sometimes miss these signs at first glance. Using a 5x loop or digital microscope can reveal what the naked eye can't. By contrast, D-mint marks on Denver issues are generally crisp, but occasionally you'll find repunched mint marks, RPM. These look like shadowy echoes of the D, either offset or slanted. RPM varieties happen when the mint punch is misaligned and restamped, leaving telltale traces on the coin's surface. RPMs aren't as dramatic as doubling, but they're nonetheless collectible and can command a 20 to 50% premium over standard pieces in similar condition. As for current market values, most circulated 1996 Roosevelt dimes trade hands at face value or modestly above, think 10 to 25 cents in worn grades. However, mint state pieces shine brighter. An MS-63 specimen without errors might fetch $2 to $4 from dealers, while MS-65 examples climb toward $7 or $8. That's still pocket change compared to auction records for standout era coins. One Philadelphia double die obverse sold for over $1,200 in a private sale in late 2023, graded MS-65 by a leading third-party service. Another off-center strike, missing about 12% of its design, achieved $650 at an online auction early in 2024. Though these figures represent the high end, they illustrate the potential payoff when you spot a rare variety in mint or near-mint condition. Beyond numbers, the 1996 dime has its share of fascinating stories. One collector recalls finding a bold double die example inside a bank roll of pocket change. After depositing the remaining coins, he returned a week later to discover the bank teller had sold it for face value to another customer. Another tale involves an off-center specimen pulled from a cashier's tip jar at a diner. The excited waitress sold it to a local coin shop for $50, unaware its true worth exceeded 10 times that. These anecdotes highlight how such coins can slip into everyday life and re-emerge as conversation starters among enthusiasts. Each discovery feels like a small archaeological dig, lifting modern artifacts from the mundane routines of daily commerce. Condition plays a pivotal role in determining value. Circulated dimes, even error varieties, lose much of their premium in lower grades. A heavily worn double-die obverse dime might only be worth $50 to $75, as where blurs the doubling and damps collector interest. Conversely, a gem-quality MS-67 error can command over $2,000, reflecting both rarity and preservation. Off-center strikes also exhibit this pattern. Mild strikes missing just a sliver of the design may only earn a modest premium in lower grades, while broad off-center errors, particularly in mint state, become centerpiece items in error-focused collections. And don't overlook surface preservation. Any signs of cleaning, scratches, or spots can dramatically reduce a dime's appeal and value. It's not just error coins that interest collectors. Regular 1996 dimes in top grades also draw attention. Specimens graded MS-68, or even the near-perfect MS-69, are exceptionally scarce. Only a handful of these exist across both mints. Auction records show that MS-68 Plus examples can fetch $100 to $150, driven by demand from type collectors who strive to assemble complete high-grade sets. A certified MS-69 Philadelphia dime sold privately in mid-2024 for $375, marking the upper echelon for non-error pieces. These sales underscore how condition alone can elevate a modern coin from everyday currency to a prized collectible. For those hunting in pocket change or rolls, a straightforward strategy applies: focus on mint state finds and use proper tools. A decent 10x loop will reveal doubling and RPM features. A small flashlight at an oblique angle can highlight off-center strikes and cut errors. Bank rolls from the Philadelphia Mint offer the densest hunting ground for double-die obverse simply by virtue of their volume. When a promising specimen appears, submit it to a reputable grading service. Professional authentication and grading can instantly boost market confidence and value, especially for errors or high-grade pieces. Interesting side notes enriched the story. In 1996, collectors noted slight die polishing lines on some Philadelphia dimes, fine hairline strokes across Roosevelt's portrait caused by die maintenance. Though not traditionally classified as errors, these polishing marks add a unique character to individual coins. Some enthusiasts even document polishing patterns to track die lineage and production sequences. Similarly, mild cut errors, where a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, turn even standard dimes into conversation pieces with chartable rarity. As you explore the world of 1996 Roosevelt dimes, remember that every coin has a dual identity: a piece of living history voyaging through pockets and machines, and a collectible artifact whose story unfolds when you look closer. Whether you unearth a subtle double die, a bold off-center strike, or a pristine gem in a grading slab, each discovery offers a glimpse into the U.S. Mint's processes and the randomness of error survival. So pause before spending or rolling your 1996 Roosevelt dimes. Treat them not just as 10-cent pieces but as potential keys to rare minting moments. And when you spot that doubling under the date, or feel an unexpected blank edge on an off-center strike, you'll know you've held something far more valuable than its face suggests: a tangible slice of numismatic excitement bound by history, error, and condition. Up next, we'll turn our attention to another dime that celebrates American heritage and surprises collectors with its own roster of rarities: the 1966 Roosevelt dime. The moment you slip a 1966 Roosevelt dime into your hand, you're holding a coin that quietly marks a pivotal shift in U.S. Mint history, a legacy design carried forward, now clad in copper nickel instead of silver, bearing subtle quirks that captivate collectors today. Though it might look familiar at a glance, Franklin Roosevelt's dignified profile on the obverse, a torch, olive branch, and oak sprig on the reverse, this dime carries stories of mint mark absence, elusive die varieties, and error specimens that can transform your pocket change into a numismatic prize. In this final segment, we'll journey from the moment the first 1966 dime rolled off the presses to its modern-day auction triumphs, uncover the telltale signs that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary, and see how condition can skyrocket its value. By the end, you'll know precisely where and how to spot those hidden gems in everyday circulation. Back in early 1966, the United States was just 3 years removed from the Coinage Act of 1965, legislation that removed silver from dimes and quarters to ease a devastating domestic silver shortage. That law ushered in clad coinage, a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Roosevelt's design, first struck in 1946 to honor his leadership through World War II and his crusade against polio, seamlessly transitioned to this new composition. Yet strikingly, the mint simultaneously suspended mint marks from 1965 through 1967 to discourage hoarding of coins from specific facilities. As a result, every 1966 Roosevelt dime lacks the familiar D or S under the bow, each one simply blank. This absence makes distinguishing dies and varieties more challenging, yet also more rewarding, because hidden within these unmarked faces lie rare anomalies that can fetch hundreds of dollars. Most 1966 dimes you'll encounter will be Philadelphia products simply because Denver and Philadelphia output was comparable, but without mint marks, quantity alone doesn't pinpoint origin. Collectors instead focus on die characteristics. One sought-after variety is the double die reverse, where slight misalignment during hubbing causes the torch, olive branch, and oak sprig to appear faintly duplicated. These doublings are easiest to spot along the serrated edge of the torch and the leaves. In particular, look for a ghostly second row of leaves just inside the primary relief. Only a few dozen of these have been documented, and they command premiums of $200 to $400 in higher grades. The subtlety of the doubling makes a magnifier essential. Without 5x to 10x magnification, most of these remain invisible to casual inspection. Just as intriguing are the die clash varieties. When a die strikes another die without a planchet between them, elements of one design transfer to the other. On some 1966 dimes, you can find faint impressions of Roosevelt's shoulder or portions of the torch on the opposite die. Inspect the fields, especially on the obverse near Roosevelt's neck, and you might see barely perceptible outlines that shouldn't be there. These clash marks aren't always dramatic, but on rare bold clashes, they can push a dime's value into the $100 to $150 range for lightly circulated pieces, and $300 or more when graded mint state. These scars are like a coin's fingerprint, unique to specific die pairings. Error collectors also prize off-center strikes on 1966 dimes. Because dies and planchets can occasionally misfeed, you might find dimes where the design is shifted, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side. Mild off-centers, under 10% missing, are fairly common and might trade for $20 to $30 in XF to AU grades. But bold off-centers, say 40 to 50% of the design missing, especially in mint state, can soar past $500 at auction. The key is symmetry. The more evenly the missing portion slices the design, the more dramatic and valuable the coin appears. Broad strikes, where the collar die fails to engage properly and the coin expands beyond its normal diameter, are another fascinating anomaly. Broad-struck 1966 dimes can trade from $50 in lower grades to $300 plus in pristine condition, thanks to their unusual flattened, Apollonian look. Beyond doubling and misfeeds, some 1966 dimes bear repunched date errors. During hubbing, the date might be punched slightly off before being corrected, leaving a shadowy trace or echo of the original numerals. These repunched dates are usually visible under magnification as faint, misaligned outlines to the left or right of the primary digits. Clear examples can fetch $100 to $200 depending on grade, because they bridge the gap between weakly defined minor varieties and the dramatic doubling we mentioned earlier. Turning to condition and market values, most 1966 Roosevelt dimes in worn grades remain worth face value to 25 cents among casual sellers. Collectors prize mint state pieces, an MS-63 specimen might sell for $3 to $5, MS-65 for $10 to $15, and MS-67 for $50 to $75 depending on eye appeal. However, exception-level coins have shattered records. A single 1966 double-die reverse-graded MS-67 earned $1,350 at auction in March 2024, while an extraordinary MS-68 Plus example of the same variety commanded $2,800 in June. Those prices underscore how condition amplifies rarity. Even off-center errors see similar leaps. An MS-68 off-center strike missing 40% of the design achieved $1,200 in a fall 2023 sale. Stories from the trenches bring these values to life. One collector recounts finding a sharp die clash example while sorting through a charity donation box. He traded it to a local dealer for $125 on the spot, only to see it resell for 5 times that amount online. Another tale comes from a bank teller who slipped a modest off-center MS-65 into a customer's change without realizing, prompting the customer to return days later after spotting it under a desk lamp. Less dramatic but equally charming are the polishing line varieties. Some dies used in 1966 received minor surface polishing to remove dye deposits, leaving faint linear scratches across Roosevelt's cheek and the torch. Though not classified as errors in the strict sense, these polishing lines serve as die markers, letting specialists map production sequences and attribute coins to specific die stages. Condition really is the coin's destiny. In worn grades, even dramatic errors can lose value if details become muted. A heavily worn off-center strike might slide back toward $50 to $75, while a low-grade double die may fetch $100 at best. By contrast, gem and near-perfect specimens command the grand stage. Number 1966 dime has ever achieved a perfect, 70, grade, MS-69 remains the pinnacle, and only a couple exist. When one surfaced in late 2024, bidding ignited and it sold for $3,200, reflecting its virtual uniqueness. For those eager to hunt these treasures, the strategies mirror those for the 1996 dime but with some twists. Since no mint marks exist, searching bank-wrapped rolls yields an even mix of Philadelphia and Denver issues. Focus on rolls from small community banks, they're more likely to contain undisturbed coins. Use a 10x loop and a strong LED flashlight to inspect die doubling, clash marks, and repunched dates. Check for off-center and broad strike examples by holding the coin at varying angles. Light plays across missing design areas and expanded rims in distinctive ways. And whenever you find a promising candidate, consider professional grading. 2 coins, 2 eras, 1 common thread, the Roosevelt dime's enduring appeal. The 1996 issue showed us how a half-century of production can produce hidden gems, double dies, repunched mint marks, outstanding mint state survivors, while the 1966 issue taught us how design continuity and a switch in metal composition birthed new varieties for sharp-eyed collectors. Both coins underscore a simple truth: pocket change can become priceless with the right knowledge, tools, and a bit of patience. So next time you drop a dime into a cup or find one between your sofa cushions, take a moment to examine it. You might just hold a rare minting moment, one that transforms everyday currency into a captivating chapter of numismatic history.